This episode was brought to you by Google Cloud, a partner that needs no introduction. What you might not have heard of, though, is that Google offers a Google for Startups cloud program where they give you access to startup experts, technical training, business support, and cover your Google Cloud costs up to $200,000 for 2 years, or even $350,000 if you're an AI startup. Scale your startup faster and smarter with Google Cloud. Head over to goo.gle/Swisspreneur.
Well, that's the beauty of time of flight. If you go to the planets, to the comets, you have an expectation what's there, but you don't know because maybe there are elements you don't know. The beauty of this technology, you can measure and you have the insights of the full composition. When you calculate all peaks together, you have 100% of your sample. So you are quantitative.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Ansuya.
Welcome, Jürg, to our podcast today. So happy to have you here.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm curious how this works here.
Yes. And I'm sure our listeners are also curious to hear about something which is not so common. Like a lot of our guests are not building what you're building. So a lot of space tech conversation we're going to have today. Let's get started. So Jürg, you're the co-founder and CTO at Space Tech Technologies, a startup producing time-of-flight mass spectrometers to bring space technology to Earth. For our listeners, just to give them a little bit of context about what time-of-flight spectrometers are, time-of-flight spectrometers, or TOFMS, are like high-tech detectives developed for space missions, where they analyze planets and comets to figure out what they're made of, right down to the tiny particles. Built tough to withstand the extreme conditions of space, these instruments are super reliable, compact, and precise, making them perfect for uncovering the secrets of the universe. So quite an interesting technology that you guys are developing, and we really are curious to hear about your story. So let's begin with, your personal background, how it all began. You studied electrical engineering at university, so Berner Fachhochschule, and then went on to become the lead of the electronics department at the University of Bern. And you stayed there for 17 years. But halfway through, in about 2007, you started Space Tech Engineering. So what was the purpose of this company then?
Okay, there is a lot of stuff which you already told. In principle, my whole story about it.
Yeah.
The purpose of the company, of the Space Tech Engineering. Mm-hmm. So this is, in principle, a company which I founded in the frame of the work of the University of Bern. I started in 2001 there. I was the first, let's say, electric engineer at that time. There were some technicians. Mm-hmm. And I remember Katrin Altweg was hiring me, and he showed me the full space tech department, which was extremely impressive for me, because in the middle of Bern, you have this high-tech stuff. You have a department which is flying to all the planets, to the comets you can think of. This was very interesting for me. And then I remember Katrin Altweg told me the last thing when he finished the walk and invited me or showed me the important people there. He told me, the work will find you and do something with the microprocessor. And okay, I did it. The work found me indeed. And I tried always to implement new technologies, microcontrollers, make stuff tiny, make stuff smart in that sense. And this was the first part of my journey at the University of Bern. Then instruments were coming, projects were becoming greater. I was able to hire new people from time to time. And then in 2007, there were some other projects coming, which not really fit in the program of the University of Bern, but they were super interesting for me because these were projects for the ISS. So these were biological projects where they needed automation. And I don't know why they asked me, but it was by chance happening. And then I started with a colleague of mine doing small projects for the ISS where we automated biological experiments because the astronauts do not have any more time. He just installed the instrumentation, and the instrumentation needed to run fully automatically, autonomous. And at the kitchen at home, at the table, I started to design it, and this worked very well. And it was interesting for me to realize, in principle, out of any help, such a project.
I mean, that's so fascinating to hear because, you have the technical sort of creative genius running in your mind where you're coming up with these things on your own. But what about also the angle of entrepreneurial, spirit? Like, where did that come from?
It's hard to tell. I was always interested, not only work in my technical backyard, let's say.
Yeah.
I was also very interested how to realize such a project. When the scientists were coming to me, they were not telling me how this can be solved. They asked me, I need to measure that, I need to measure it, and that's all. And then for me, it was always interesting to find the ways, maybe the technology, maybe to invent new technology, maybe to find a specialist outside of let's say, my technical backyard. Yeah. And this was very interesting for me. And this is maybe the starting of my entrepreneurial thinking.
Wow. So you met your co-founders as well earlier at the University of Bern, right? Where at the time, as you mentioned, you had built so many different instruments as well for space exploration. So this particular startup that you have now, this was incorporated in 2018, right? So what happened during those years that led you to, from space tech engineering to space tech technologies?
This was a logical sequence, I would say. At that time, we worked on compact mass spectrometers. Other departments were hiring them. There was then one big step to make this complex stuff, this technology. You need to know this time of flight is normally a golden standard in laboratories because this technology is measuring all. So it's measuring quantitative. It's quite powerful in terms of give you results. Yeah. It's like when you talk in a camera, it's really high resolution camera. It's not only that you get one pixel out of the image, you get the full spectrum, whatever you can have in chemical behaviors.
Maybe if you can explain also a bit in your words, like what kind of mass spectrometers you guys are building. So that the listeners have some context as well to your product.
Yes, the technology is called time of flight, TOF, as you mentioned in the very beginning, and it works like this: you let in a gas sample, then you do an ionization of this gas sample, and then you have the particles which are becoming ions. Ions means they have a charge. Now, a lot of different ions inside a small compartment, and we give a high energy pulse to this region where we have ions, and then we pull them or we push them into a drift region, or let's say in a distance where we can measure the time, how fast they are flying, or how long they need to travel through this defined drift distance. Now we have ions, they are heavy, and we have ions, they're lightweight. There is the periodical system, and each atom is separating by a mass unit, and an ion is a combination of atoms. By this nature, you can separate the mass of each ion. And when we give a certain energy to ions, then you have this separation in time, because the light ones, they are accelerating much faster. They're hitting the detector much faster than the heavy ions. So this is very technical. At the end, then you have a lot of data which are coming, and you need then to analyze them. And this is also quite tricky because then you have some peaks in your spectrum. You have then to analyze, is it one peak, is it two peak, where is exactly the precision, and so on. And the full combination between mechanical structure. So we have a mechanical structure, we have electronic components which are controlling all these electrodes, and we have the software, and all this together, each discipline, it's a really high precision that at the end we can do this separation, that we can manage to see these small gaps between the ions.
And what kind of application does it have? So when you identify these changes or differences, let's say maybe some anomalous behavior or different in the way these ions are, or the, like as you mentioned, sorry if I'm saying it incorrectly, but the material and electronic structure differs. So what kind of insights do you get out of it from that?
Oh, that's the beauty of time of flight. Mm-hmm. If you go to the planets, to the comets, you have an expectation what's there, but you don't know because maybe there are elements you don't know. The beauty of this technology, you can measure and you have the insight of the full composition. When you calculate all peaks together, you have 100% of your sample. So you are quantitative. And now this is as well super interesting for process applications. When you are in a process application, you have your process parameters. Okay, that's fine. You can control them. But when you have the insights of things you don't know and you see it immediately, then you have a big tool which helps you to adjust the machine better or keep the quality control on a very high level.
Understood. So, I mean, this is the work that you're saying you built up over the years to get to this point, right? And how did you come in contact with your co-founders as well, who joined you together in this?
We worked on this compact time-of-flight system. There was a software engineer, there was an electrical engineer, and so on. And on a certain point in 2017, I thought that there is more than just build an instrument for space. It's super exciting and interesting to do this. But what can you do beyond? You can build the next instrument for the next mission. But it's different, but same approach. And then there was really the idea born that to bring such a complex technology in an industrial environment where you don't have educated operators, where you don't have capability to adjust the instrument all the time. So you need smart instruments. Exactly. Yeah. And then the idea was born. And then at that time we looked how we want to do it. And there was a bunch of engineers like me which were interested in realizing such an idea, and then we founded, in principle, the company. First of all, before we founded the company, we wrote many applications to get money, to get extra engineering capabilities. And in principle also a little bit to prove the idea from outside.
From an industrial point of view.
From an industrial point or from this institution which gives you money or gives you resources or something.
Right. So what are some of the critical changes or adaptations that you had to do to make it viable for the market to adopt this?
So the space instrument is really on a super high level constructed. So you have super expensive parts, you have super high level parts, the most expensive parts you can find on Earth. And a process instrument needs to be super cheap in compared to that. And what we did, principally we calculated the ion optics new. We make a concept for the electronics new and for the software as well. That's what we did. And then we used state-of-the-art electronics, mechanics, and as well software to realize it.
And what were some of the use cases and the customers that you had initially when you went commercial?
So when we started, we were coming with the technology, and we were looking where do we have the best fit. So we did not start at the company and we had a clear problem in mind which we want to solve. But it was always the case that we need to find an application where you have a certain complexity, and that's what we did. And very in the beginning, we saw that the semiconductor market is a very good market because they have big investments, they have very complex problems to solve. It's really complex, and besides this was one thing. And the other thing, at that time, we thought the water quality could be a big topic because our instrument has also the capability to detect trace elements like, I don't know, nitrates or whatever you can have in the water, heavy metals, this kind of stuff. Yeah. Exactly. This has the capability. And we started in principle with these both cases. But then during the COVID-2, we had to narrow down. Yeah. It was not possible to go with both, and we decided to go for the semiconductor market. We can take it again in a few years and go there. This is also the beauty of our instrument. Yeah. We have that much possibilities, but now the focus is on the semiconductor market.
And also, I would assume anyway for startup that it's important to focus on one niche first and then expand to other areas as well, as you did. So in terms of the semiconductor market, like who are your customers? Like what would be sort of the companies that work with you?
Okay, this is quite a long journey to find the right customer in the semiconductor. Yeah. Even when you, as you said, we have to narrow down. If you go to semiconductor, the field is still huge. Right. And to find the access to this market, we thought about how to do it. At the end, we have the end users, as we call these are the companies which are producing the chips, as the portables or the tablets or the computers they do. So we have to convince them that they need it. But they also have a lot of, they called OEM customers from their perspective, which are producing the wafers and this kind of stuff. And then we started to do a push-pull that we went to both, and to find then really the access to this company. This was really a very long journey. We had, I would say, more than 1 year to get in contact with the big player. We were not interested. At the end, we were not. There's another thing. You need to go to end users, big players, because they are the reference. When you go to a semiconductor which manufacturer which is, let's say, not the best, they will probably not invent the new technology.
Yeah. They're waiting for the bigger players to make the first move. And then they feel more secure to, okay, now we can also adapt this new technology.
Exactly. So, and this was quite a long journey. We tried whatever is possible. Sometimes we were a little bit wrong. Then we had to adjust. We had maybe wrong people which were not able to access, or this was quite a journey. But today I can tell you with the big players in VR. Our instrument is in actually process manufacturing line of the two biggest players in the world, one in Korea and one in Taiwan. And this was really a huge success to make it.
It sounds big. Yes.
This is really big. And I can tell you there are other companies which has very long tradition, which are successful today, which did not manage to bring their product to one of these players.
Right.
Hey Swisspreneurs, we've just released our 4th free masterclass on go-to-market strategy with Ankita, Mehta, and Soumya Dash. Ankita is a serial entrepreneur currently building Lexity.ai, an AI legal tech startup, and Soumya is a co-founder at Sleepiz, a startup providing a medtech device that offers sleep insights and a real Swiss scale-up case. They're both seasoned entrepreneurs who've learned their trade through trial and error and lived to tell the tale. Check out this free masterclass to learn how to define your ideal customer profile, how to price your product, and how to get your first customers. Check out the link in the show notes to view our free masterclass. Thank you and have a great day.
And I mean, because you also, up until, last year, you were CEO. So I'm sure you were very instrumental in making these things happen for the company. But now you're CTO and no longer CEO, right? So what prompted this reorganization and you then adjusting to not being CEO and then CTO afterwards?
Yeah, on some point, you grow, the company grows. So I started the company. There was a lot of things I did also to grow the company. And then on some point, new people are coming or people are going as well. So both are the case. And then we won last year, big investor. So the money, I cannot say it's not a problem anymore. We have to, we have still to work. Yeah, exactly. But then Max was joining our company 1.5 years ago, and he opened doors to the semiconductor manufacturer. And then on some point, how can we control the company? I'm really a super technical background, and this was kind of a logical decision. And he was more coming from entrepreneur things and like that. And then we made the split that I'm concentrating to the technology and he's concentrating, let's say, on the sales and financial stuff. So I'm pretty proud. I'm not responsible anymore to pay the salaries in time. This does not mean that we have dates or goals are relaxed in that sense.
No, definitely.
But I can now concentrate, I would say, much more on the technical stuff.
Yeah, on your skill set. No, I'm also the technical role in my company, so I completely understand. I think being on the other side, from my point of view, I feel like sales and marketing is so hard and it's so important. And from their point of view, they think, okay, but the product itself, the technology itself is obviously equally important and also very difficult. But you need like complementing people and separate skill sets for that. So, I mean, because this is also something that you mentioned that, first thing is to find the right guys who can work on this technology, but then also the right people to enter the market, like the sales and marketing. So as a deep tech company, did you find yourself working too much on tech in the beginning and less on the market? And when did you realize, to change this, and how did you go about fixing this?
There's a yes and there is a no. In the beginning, when we worked, we had a lot of grants from ESA, from all this framework, and at that point we had to show that we can manage the technical stuff, and very focused and less to the market, I have to say, because we had for both markets which we are focused in the really beginning, we had early adopters. So we were kind of relaxed, not to force marketing, not to force, let's say, different market entries. So we focused on the technical side, which we then also survived. Then, of course, was the COVID thing was coming, and then there was a gap. Every company, everybody was kind of busy with himself, how to survive this area, and then we had to focus, and then I have to say that we probably did a little bit too less on this, and then we lost a little bit of time. But we didn't have the right person, which also were diving into this market, exploring this, where to go, what's the best problem to solve.
Yeah. And how did COVID-19 affect, if you can elaborate a bit on that phase, like how did that affect like which market is best suited?
We were lucky. We closed an early seed round at that time. Yeah. So we were fine for at least 1 year. It was not possible to manage both markets, and we saw the water thing. They were closing, so they closed the labs.
Oh, I see.
this was difficult. And then, then was the shortcut coming from the semiconductor manufacturer. On a certain period, you are not even able to buy simple chips because they are out of stock. At that time, all the companies were buying, especially also the car market, that they were used to produce in a lean approach. And they realized, okay, this is a problem, and they started to buy all the components. And on a certain point, it was quite difficult. You had to do first. You have to order first the component, the quantity you need, and then afterwards you did the design. If you make the design at that time, which takes, I don't know, maybe depending on the complexity, a month, 3 months. After the period, the component was not even available anymore. So we had also to exchange. And then, okay, let's go for this market because they will do huge investments. And then is the other thing of the political situation. A lot of stuff is done in the Asian room.
Right.
And there are some conflicts. And now even Europe, US, they have huge investments. They have in mind, they build a facility on site. This is maybe as well quite tricky, but this makes us then the decision go 100% to the semi market. What we underestimated is we were not able to travel to Asia at that time, and we tried to do it as other companies to make a market entry by video calls, and this was on a certain level it was possible.
Yeah.
But this was quite hard. This was really, really hard to find the entry point.
And also, like, were you also then working with ordering all of these parts, I'm assuming coming from Asia as well. So when you can't actually look at some of the prototypes or like test parts, like it was all happening via post, or like did the process become completely digitalized at that point?
Yes, indeed. So we produced some prototypes at that time, but we were quite good to manage it. As I said, we first ordered the part and then we made the design or something like that, or we had in the very beginning when we decided to build our technology, we also spoke at the time before COVID. We also spoke with the manufacturer, which chipset shall we use. And this kind of stuff. And then we were not really dramatically hit by that. So we, of course, things was a little bit slower, but we got the stuff. We were able to build the prototypes, the stuff. We were able to do that.
So at least,
but to go to the customer, this was not possible.
Right.
So at that time, we also send 1-2 units to a customer. Normally you go there, it's a new technology, you do training, you do the installation, whatever. It was not possible. We made it somehow via video call.
That's actually a huge achievement, I would say, for something where you really need to go on site and do that you were able to do it online.
It was, exactly. It was, but it was super slow.
Yeah.
It's much easier when you can fly each day to each destination. It's much simpler and that's what we do now. That's for example, when Max was coming, so the world was accessible again, and what he did, he traveled around. So every 2 weeks he was in another destination somewhere in the world, and trying to make the access. And this was a brilliant move.
And for our listeners to know, what is Max's role in the team currently?
So Max is the CEO, so he is the responsibility of everything in principle, but he is also leading the sales team. So you have these 2 roles.
Understood. And basically, then let's talk also about the 3 rounds in which you raised 9 million francs since 2018. So on the one hand, space tech is a hot investment target. On the other hand, your product is harder to explain, than most products, and you would want to have investors who really understand what you're trying to build, for whom you're trying to build it. So how was that whole situation, like the whole fundraising experience for you? And as well, the delays that you saw during the COVID period, how did that impact the expectation the investors then had from you.
That's right. So we have a technology which can solve super complex problems. That means you need to go for investor which can understand it. This is very important. We were very lucky, super lucky, I have to say. We started, as probably each company, we started with angels, business angels, and in the very beginning, we were able to win such business angels that they can understand this technology, this complexity, and they supported us super well during the first years, including the difficult times with the COVID. On some points, you need bigger investors, so the next steps. And this was a hard one, I have to say. It took us much longer to find there a good investor, but with Swisscom and Spectrum, which we won finally, we are super well equipped with this financial background, and all of our investors understand the market, and they understand it's not a let's say like a software app which you can maybe elaborate in 1 year and then you can earn money. No, we need maybe 1 or 2 years to make one sale, because our customer is not, let's say, a professor somewhere which has a great idea and he is taking one instrument. No, our customer is a manufacturer of semiconductor parts, and they have big fabs, several hundred meters with 1,000 machines, and they want to have the control about all machines. So our customer will buy hundreds of instruments from our company.
So one big sale is like a huge revenue for the company. It's a huge responsibility.
Yes. Yes. So simple case, but you can imagine to convince such a customer, it takes very long time.
I mean, makes sense. It's big, high stakes. So
yes, and the investor needs to understand that.
Yeah. Understood. And last year, you also got the right financial institutions to back you as well, which is very much needed. Why is this so important? If you can explain that also to our listeners for a deep tech company such as yourself.
We rely on the speed of our customer. So we have now 2 customer evaluations running in parallel, and one is more enhanced than the other. But one is we are working since 1 year to fulfill the qualification program of the customer. So we did not fail. We are progressing.
The way the process is.
That's the way of the process. So he wants to know is the application working. Then you have to implement the instrument into the facility. You have to send the data through his data acquisition system, and then you have to fulfill the full safety qualifications. And we did this stepwise. On one hand, to win such a customer is great. Then a lot of revenue is be expected. But we are relying on the speed of this company. So maybe they will order immediately, but they are fast. This we know as well, but we rely on them. We do not have 100 customers. We have 2 customers, and this needs the investor to understand that the potential is that huge that such investors, they have no problem with that.
And also, like, having the right partners as well is very critical for a company such as yours. Can you tell us a bit about what kind of partners you have and what role do they play?
Our product is 100% designed by our engineers, so electronics, mechanics, software as well. But we are not the producer of mechanical parts. So we have a lot of suppliers there, and we need very good collaboration because these parts are super, they are complex, critical in some terms, and we expect, of course, right delivery of the parts in the right shape, that we get the right performance. And there we have a bunch of suppliers. Same for electronics. We do the design completely, but we are not the guys which are soldering and assemble parts. So we rely there. And today we do not produce hundreds of instruments or millions. So we need to have the correct supply which is able to serve us with batches of 10, 20, something like that with the necessary quality.
Understood. And you also have some projects, apart from in the semiconductor market for space exploration. It is a limited market and, not a steady state growth market. So what are the opportunities that you see or have seen in space exploration?
Yes, so we have 2 space projects. We are going to the moon to investigate the age of the. Yeah, indeed, it's pretty cool. The idea is, how old is the moon? Then other person can judge on the big question: what's first here, the Earth, the moon, whatever. Yeah. It's not clear today. So we go to the moon, and as I said, of course we are in the frame of doing R&D, new designs, and so on. But we also in this evaluation process with the semiconductor manufacturers. So in the meantime, we know very well what the customer needs, and we have a little bit of capacity left that we can do such projects. And what we deliver is something what we have really where we are in the sweet spot. It's not an engineering, so we deliver a component to them. It's a controlling component, electronics and software what we deliver. Right. And it's kind of closing a loop somehow. So we came from the space industry, let's call it like that, and we transferred it to commercial industry, and now we are going back, we're cycling back pieces out of it to the space industry, and of course it's super interesting.
Yeah, you probably had also these thoughts as a child, exploring, like building things for outer space. I don't know, but like the fantasy also goes there a bit.
The funny thing, not really. When I was a kid, so it was, I don't know, it was finding me, and even at the time when I worked for the space stuff, I did not really had the time to look into the sky and see where it goes. I was always interested, how can I realize it? How can I do it? And this was
the engineering and exactly. Really getting things built.
This was the driver for me. So this was not the driver to find out what's really the age of these rocks on the moon are. Of course, it's interesting, and there are people they live just for that.
Dream behind, no, makes sense. Yeah. But your company is now, I think, from outer space even all the way to Antarctica. So what's next then for space tech?
Next is, of course, is to make the big deals with the semiconductor manufacturer, and this is really impressive. And when you are in such a clean room in a facility there, which is hundreds of meters long, you are looking to the top, and then you see all these transportation units which are exchanging wafers from machine to machine. Yeah. And then you can realize, okay, there is an upper level control system which relies on some data to judge if a production spot is ready to produce, or if a production spot needs maintenance. Yeah. And that we can serve with our technology, this data, that I can control this whole facility. This is the next step, in my opinion, which is super exciting. And then to install all the needed units, numerous units, into such a facility and make this run. So this is the next step which I'm looking for.
And with all this talk also about AI, in the field, is that something you're also integrating into your research and engineering?
So big data is, of course, a very hot topic. This is also where our technology fits very well, because we give 100% full insight in the process, and you can record it. Yeah. And of course, when you have a process, you can understand what the process parameters are. This is not really AI. You need to find out, and then you see, okay, you need to control these parameters. Fine.
It's like analytics with the
data. Yes, exactly. Fine. But then you have anomalies, you have contamination, you have, effects, something, and then you have to find this. And of course, then you need algorithms which can find this.
Predict patterns and detect these in the future.
Yes, exactly. And then the instrument needs to learn.
Yes.
So this will be the game of the future.
Yeah.
So you have two problems. Understand a problem. It can be a production problem. It can be also a new process to learn how to do it and then to stabilize it.
Yeah.
So there are a mix between investigation and make it process stable.
Right. And then for you, Jürg, as an individual, what are your plans next within the company or otherwise as well?
So as I said, to build up, it will be quite interesting from a few machines as we build today to maybe 10, 100. Then maybe if everything evolves well, then we got to the point that we have to build 1,000 units, and then I would say we need to build quite a big factory, and to see these steps, and this is the next thing, and then we will see what happens. I don't know.
But you see yourself continuing in the role of CTO as you grow in any case?
Yes. Yes, if we solve this problem of stabilizing the manufacturing process, especially one of our customers is now inventing the technology for the 2 nanometer process. There will come other problems, maybe in a manufacturing field, maybe I can imagine in a complete different field where our technology can be used as well. We will see.
Yeah, good luck to you with that. And we would also like to, get to know some recommendations from you. Any, resources, gadgets like podcasts, books. I don't know what has maybe inspired you or influenced you that you would like to share.
Yeah, I'm working quite intuitive, I have to say, me as a person, and learning by doing, in other words. And one thing is, don't wait too long, whatever circumstances it is. If something is wrong, stop it immediately, change it.
Yeah.
This can be, issues with employees or issues with the market or issues with the technology, whatever. And then the second thing is find your market as fast as possible. And technology, of course, you need to, your technology needs to fit to solve a problem, of course. But without a market, it's hard. You need a buyer, which is buying a salary.
We are building very cool things, but nobody wants to pay for it. So that's a big problem as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So we come to our last segment of this episode, which is the rapid fire questions. So I'm just going to quickly ask you a question and you have to let me know your answer in rapid way. So what's your favorite space tech memory so far?
For Rosina Rosetta, very in the beginning, this was a mission to remove Gerasimenko. It's a comet, and the instrument, so-called ARTOF, it's also a time-of-flight-based instrument, had a problem in the high voltage. And after years of exploration, investigation by ESA and everybody, the companies which were building, was the conclusion not to turn on the instrument. But we at the university were not accepting this answer, and we tried to find, and then at the end it was possible to make a software fix that the instrument was able to work, and it worked till end of life and delivered data. This was quite
a proud
interesting
moment. Yeah. Does the space tech team bring out the best in you? If so, what is that best?
The space tech team is a great team. We had a long time to form this to the point we have, and for me, as a kind of a leader, I want to do my best that I do not disappoint the expectations of them, because they give a lot of energy, a lot of work hours, and that's maybe the point.
Great. If you could change anything about the space tech journey, would you?
Of course, I would. On some point, you have to do your learnings.
Yeah.
As I said before, act much faster in difficult situations. I would act much faster than I did in the past. But it was a journey. Yeah. Sometimes you need to learn.
I think this is something that we probably all feel. Like in hindsight, we're like, oh, we could have done this like better or differently, faster. But like you said, you have to learn, you have to make that experience to learn from it. And
Yeah.
probably it's not even possible to do it faster in that moment of time because that was the learning phase.
Yes, indeed. So I'm a technical person. I'm very optimistic and everything. Sometimes you need to be, let's say, fast. And it's whatever party is involved, it's for all better.
Yeah, true that.
Be transparent. That's,
yes.
Yeah.
So if you knew what you know now, would you have started a company straight out of uni, or would you have still waited?
It's a little bit the same question as before. You never know. So I started, for me, it was absolutely the right moment. I would do the same. I would do a lot of things very similar.
Okay. That's good to know, because that means you've made decisions that you're very proud of even now, and motivates you even now.
It was a journey, and the company is still there. So it works somehow. Of course, you can do things maybe much efficienter. You can be faster. I don't know. But you need to bring the company to a point that it never stops. Yes. That's the point.
Yeah.
And this was always the case.
Great. Thank you so much, Jürg, for your time and answering our questions. It was very interesting for me personally to also hear something about a product and technology that I personally have no insights on otherwise. Like what you're doing with the semiconductor industry and all the way to like outer space now. So I wish you all the best with space tech.
Well, thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for the invitation to be here and to speak about my journey.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.